The advice I would give every single manufacturer is take a second to think about what you would do if you had your best employee at every single step of your operation, every single minute of the day. What would that look like for you? How would that positively impact your business? You're really feeling the crunch for labor right now.
Yeah.
And in order to continue to maintain the output, there needed to be some sort of gap replacement, some sort of replacement of that productivity.
We need a leap.
Yeah. And AI is the tool to help facilitate that leap.
Hi, I'm Greg Linnemanstons, president of Wider Group. On this episode of the Changeover podcast, we're exploring how industrial companies can achieve meaningful strategic growth using AI tools for real-time, database decision-making and productivity optimization in their manufacturing operations. Joining me is Caleb Waack, co-founder of Next, a company specializing in building AI-based decision engine technology for manufacturing applications. I'm going to let Caleb tell us a little bit about his new company.
Yeah, thanks, Greg.
Go for it.
Next was founded with the mission and vision to really fix the problem in the market about people being data rich and insight poor. We come into an organization and we will take all of the data sources and piece them together like a puzzle to deliver value to the frontline operator, giving them the actionable insights they need to perform better in real time.
I'm curious. We learned in our warm-up that this company is not a year old yet. And it really came to be as you started to examine for your capstone project in your master's studies, the impact that AI could have on manufacturing. Let's take a step back in time to when IoT, the Internet of Things, was really becoming the next big thing in manufacturing. Take us back. That's the what was. So give us a little foundational on what was.
Yeah. I think that if we go all the way back to the beginning when Henry Ford started to build the assembly line, and then we went to robotics, and IoT was the next iteration after that, everyone was extremely excited about the fact that we can now monitor everything going on in an operation.
So everything on the plant floor is generating data.
Everything, yeah. I mean, nowadays your washing machine, you install a new washing machine and you can connect to it with your phone. Start it from home if the laundry's already in there.
And you could also, and I'm sure some of the manufacturers there are measuring how well the thing's performing.
Exactly.
And when it's going to need maintenance.
Yeah.
When the bearings are starting to go.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And that was the whole value prop of the IoT movement. The thing that wasn't expected was that there was no real path, no real roadmap after IoT to understand how each one of those individual data points that you were collecting was going to be able to add value to your organization. Independently, you knew whether your operation was at point A or point B, but what did you do about it? That's the real question.
So what you did with the data that you were gathering. So
Exactly.
You're gathering buckets of data.
Yeah.
But before AI, there wasn't a way to turn that into action in real time.
Yeah, I mean, and even to some degree, it's hard to interpret all of that data. I mean, I'm a data junkie, but I don't have time to sit there and look at a histogram or any type of visual to understand what's happening and digest it in the time it takes to make the correct decision to take action at an operation.
Yeah. So I think you just answered the question I was going to ask, which is it seemed a relatively slow adoption of IoT.
Yeah.
Is that the reason it was, there were a lot of laggards, a lot of people resisting because it was an investment?
Yeah.
And they didn't know what they were going to do with the output from the investment?
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
It's hard to go ahead and spend the dollars on sensors if the ROI for that investment isn't really understood. And until AI kind of came to be, and until those tools and those methodologies were more accessible to manufacturers, it's hard to justify that type of investment.
Yeah. Tell us about the if you can remember the epiphany of when the light went on for you that AI was going to be a game changer for IoT.
Yeah. So AI leverages a ton of compute power. And compute power is mainly driven by an observation in electronics called Moore's law, which, if you're not familiar, the doubling of transistor without.
Are you impressed?
Yeah, I am actually very.
Knows about Moore's law.
But the real important part there is that it's a doubling of power without a major increase in cost.
Right.
And so what we saw and what we observed in the time between the early 2000s to even the 2010s, when phones went from flip phones to smartphones, was that it became significantly cheaper to have a large computing device in your hand. And there was really no major increase in cost as a result.
Yeah.
And so now, with that adoption and with that becoming a widespread technological advancement in the market, it's a lot cheaper to be able to munch through all that data and get the insights. And so two things happened.
Okay.
People had more data, and compute costs went way down.
I thought you were going to give credit to the mobility, data mobility.
Oh, I think that's all. It's all within the same vein of like basically data being able to move back and forth between platform has never been easier.
Yeah. So jumping to the why for manufacturers. So what opportunities does AI represent for manufacturers, and especially the manufacturers that we care about, which aren't the biggest ones in the world? They're the ones that are seeking to compete globally from a smaller manufacturing base.
Yeah, definitely. I think the big thing for why manufacturers, if we look at just some of these major trends that are apparent in our society today, back in as early as 2012, the Federal Reserve put out a report saying there was going to be a major labor shortage and even skilled labor shortage in the market. And I think large manufacturers, small manufacturers, medium, doesn't really matter. It doesn't even matter if you're outside of manufacturing. You're really feeling the crunch for labor right now. Yeah. And in order to continue to maintain the output, there needed to be some sort of gap replacement, some sort of replacement of that productivity.
So a productivity leap.
Yeah, exactly.
We need a leap.
Yeah. And AI is the tool to help facilitate that leap. The way I always think of it is if you've got a person in your operations, let's call him Bob. Bob's been there for 30 years. He understands exactly how the wind blowing downstairs affects the way the machine runs. He's got all this knowledge, all of this experience. He's been there. He's put in the hours. And now Bob is not only getting older, Bob is looking for a way to transfer that knowledge to the next generation of workers coming in. What if you could take Bob and you could quantify the things that Bob does best and help give that information not only to the next generation of workers entering the workforce, but also to the organization to make improvements elsewhere at the organization. And now you may think, oh, well, then what's going to happen to Bob? The thing that happens to Bob is Bob, instead of running one piece of equipment, is able to help run 12 pieces of equipment to help train those people. Bob is now spending more time working with people as opposed to working on equipment.
When you think about manufacturers that you're trying to help, how are they looking at AI today as it relates to productivity, not replacing labor but enhancing labor? How do they look at it in operational terms?
Yeah, so they will look at it in pieces per labor hour. They'll look at it in value add per square foot. A piece of software just gets bolted on to your existing equipment. Yeah. It doesn't actually require any new install. It doesn't require you to bring a crane in or a forklift or whatever. It's simply a digital artifact that gets planted on your existing
So
equipment.
let's get even more pragmatic here.
Yeah.
What's the real impact? And think about companies you've worked with. What's the before and the after look like when they're deploying AI to give them real-time decision-making ability, to improve productivity? What are the tangible things?
When you say tangible, what exactly are you getting at?
Like a case study
gotcha.
of this kind of a manufacturer deployed it in this way, and here was the the results that they.
Yeah, sure. So we've deployed in a coffee manufacturing company, and we've seen
a roaster,
packager, full stack, and they have actually seen an improvement of decision making quality by 20%. And what that really translates to is that the operator running the piece of equipment through minimal training is now just making a decision in real time 20% more accurately every single time. Better decisions.
So he or she is wasting less coffee.
Exactly.
So their defects are going down.
Yeah, scrap is dropping.
And they're moving faster.
So not only
they're not taking the time out to study the situation.
Yeah. Not only has the throughput increased, but the amount of scrap has also decreased.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it translates to real dollars down to the bottom line. I mean, we're talking in less than 6 months, they've realized more than $250,000 in savings.
Wow.
Yeah.
I bet you didn't charge them $250,000.
No, not at all.
Maybe next time.
Yeah.
What about how do you start the conversation with a manufacturer who hasn't invested in IoT?
Yeah.
So they're looking and going, well, AI is great if you got data, but I don't have any data.
Yeah.
So how do I leapfrog? How do I play catch up?
Sure. So how in the weeds do you want to get here? That's the real question.
Well, in the weeds enough that people can start to see it for real.
So the real way that AI algorithms work is they try to quantify like the events and the types of events that are important. Basically, determine the outcome, so to speak.
Predict the outcome.
Yeah. So they're called deterministic, so to speak, or predictable. And so let's say the funny example is that in a marketing algorithm, for example, if someone has a house color that's blue, and that pops up as a predictable variable, a variable that predicts the response rate in a marketing campaign. And we can redo this for a manufacturing context. That'll probably be better. Yeah. But like the whole idea is that blue house may actually be the feature, so to speak, that predicts the outcome, but it's not actually causal. And so the idea is that there was something that happened in a specific neighborhood that is picking up on a series of behaviors that allows that to be the feature that actually predicts the outcome.
So your company builds decision engine tools.
Yep.
For manufacturers to allow them to benefit from AI and impact their profitability, their productivity, their quality, the things that really matter, that drive both their growth and their performance as a business. So how do you start? Where does the conversation start? And how do you build out a plan for a potential customer of yours?
Yeah. So we start first with a simple audit. We come in, we'll take a peek at your operations, do a plant tour, and just have a very honest conversation about where you're at on the data maturity curve. The data maturity curve.
So what are they measuring?
Yeah. What are you measuring? What does it look like? What data do you have? Where is it? All that good stuff. And in most cases, we find that you've got a good store of data. Could always be better. But in most cases, people have been good stewards of technology and of the business, and they've got a decent amount of information available to them. From there, we do something that we call just financial analysis. And that basically puts the roadmap out in front of both us and the customer on what a decision engine would do for the organization and how we go about deploying it. Basically sets up the roadmap.
So in financial terms, you're predicting an ROI based on your audit.
Yep.
Based on your observations of the data that they have.
Yep.
And what you think you can affect as improvements.
Yeah.
Based on what they're gathering.
Yeah. And we get pretty involved. So we'll take a look at a lot of manufacturers, most everyone have statistical process control data available. And we'll actually look at the distributions of your process data, and we'll pick out instances in which we say, look here, this is evidence of your operators actually not reacting to a condition.
That you're outside of the highs and lows where they should be.
And we will then even look back at different stages of the process and say, this is the event that caused this event further down the line.
And so if AI led you to a real-time correction here, you would have avoided that.
Exactly.
It's easy to understand.
Yeah. And the idea too is we feed these insights to the operator the same way that you or I would drive down the road in a simple red, yellow, green overlay on their existing user interface.
So the operator is not giving up control.
Nope.
They have better
indicators
of how it's running
exactly
at any point in time.
Yep.
Cool.
And so this can be integrated into any type of computer, a human-machine interface, robotic pendants, all of that.
So if you've got robotics at play, the robotics could be self-correcting based on what AI is telling them.
Exactly. Now, we obviously don't recommend to go there from the start. We always recommend to keep a human in the loop for some time, because the process is iterative. No one gets to the end immediately.
Yeah.
We need to go through and we need to get the feedback from the operator, and that's all brought into consideration when we build the algorithm.
Yeah. Well, we've covered a lot here, Caleb. What I'd love to ask you to do right now is think about the advice that you give to manufacturers if they're struggling with the concept of using AI to improve their operations. What advice would you give them on how they can look at this and what steps they could take to understand if this is something they want to pursue?
Yeah, the advice I would give every single manufacturer is, one, to reach out to us at hello@wearenext.ai, and two, take a second to think about what you would do if you had your best employee on every single step of your operation, your best employee at every single step of your operation, every single minute of the day. What would that look like for you? How would that positively impact your business? And if that idea is appealing to you, send us an email, give us a call, reach out, because we can make that a reality for you.
Yeah. And just so they understand, it doesn't cost anything to have you take a look at what they're doing.
Nope.
So,
we will literally come in right now, free of charge, and come in and take a look at what you're doing, take a look at what your data looks like, give you a financial analysis on what a tool like this can do for your business.
So it sounds to me like you just removed any barriers to getting started.
Exactly.
And so the only reason they wouldn't want to do it is if they don't care about improving.
Basically.
And hopefully anybody who's taking the time to listen to us is seeking improvement.
Yeah.
Or they'd just be watching a basketball game instead, right?
Exactly.
Good. Well, thank you so much, Caleb. This was a fantastic conversation. I can tell you that our focus is on industrial. I've got clients who I know would benefit from talking to you because none of them are perfect yet. They're good, but they could all benefit from learning how to deploy AI to, as you said, get their best person on every job 24/7. And so thank you for joining us. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
Yeah, it was great to be here. Appreciate it.
Thanks for joining us on the Changeover Podcast. Remember to subscribe on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, Wider.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. Let us know what you'd like to hear about next time by messaging Wider Group on social media. Thanks for watching.